Hi guys, this is GSMDome and I'm here with the Honor Magic6 Pro. It's finally in Europe, courtesy of Mobile World Congress, and we have here a gem of a phone. When I say gem, I'm talking about the jewelry inspired backside. This is a very polarizing design. Some people enjoy it, some people call it, well, too much, and it has an interesting marble-like texture here. So Honor Magic6 Pro is focused on, of all things, sports photography, because it's able to take photos very fast at a high distance, at the same time freezing the subject in midair. Somehow it fits because this year, if I remember correctly, we have both the Olympics and the European soccer tournament. Okay, so the price tag should be around 800 euros for this device, as far as I know right now. It's one of the few phones out there that comes with a special 3D sensor up front, like the Apple one for face unlock. And at the same time, it has the highest resolution periscope camera I've seen. I'm talking about 180 megapixels. But this is an unboxing, so let's see what's inside the box. Well, not much, as you can see for yourself. Not a very thick box, and we also have a, well, test unit, so not all the accessories are inside. Metal key used to access the nano SIM card slots, and the cable going from USB-C to another USB-C. That's it. There should be a manual here, maybe also a case, but once again, we have a test sample, not the final one. So those are the accessories inside the box. Now let's focus on the handset itself, starting with the design. It may feel like a massive phone, but at the same time it's quite easy to wield and fits in the hand perfectly, on account of two reasons. It has a leather backside and it's also gently curved, so it fits in the palm perfectly. Now, it has a metal frame. My guess is that it's aluminum. Once again, a leather at the back, a glass at the front, curved on the sides, and with a very narrow bezel. 91% screen to body ratio should tell you something. I should probably also mention that it has IP68 certification and a special type of protection from being dropped on concrete even. You're supposed to be able to drop it on concrete from up to 1.5 meters and still it should survive. Expanding on the technology we saw on the Honor Magic6 Lite. Now, if you're on measurements, it measures 8.9 millimeters in thickness and weighs 225 grams. The colors are black, green, blue, purple, or white. In spite of being a 6.8 incher, it's much comfier to handle and wield than the Galaxy S24 Ultra. And that's a big bonus. Comfy buttons on the side and very satisfying in their clicks. Now, the screen you're seeing here is one of the brightest on the market. The Magic 5 Pro already had the brightest on the market. Now it's time for an even higher one. 6.8 inch is what we have here. Also a LTPO OLED that shows 1 billion colors. And I should probably also mention that it has HDR support, 120 Hz refresh rate, something called Jurhino glass protection. But the resolution, I expected a bit more. It's actually 2800 over 1280 pixels. So yeah, that's possibly why the battery lasts so long. Maybe. Okay, now going further, we're going to talk about the innards of the phone, starting with the processor. Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, as expected from a flagship. 4nm octa-core with the Adreno 750 GPU, 12 gigs of RAM or 16 in the current case. Let's see what we have here. So we have the version with 12 gigs, as well as 512 gigabytes of storage. There's no microSD here, but there is a very hefty battery, and it's not your average battery, it's a special type of battery. 5600 mAh with silicon technology, carbon silicon, which is supposed to preserve better in below 0 degrees Celsius conditions. It also charges at 80 watts via wire, 66 watts wireless, and even does both wired and wireless reverse charging. Now, I already started some tests for the battery and I can tell you that it has gigantic video playback time. So if you're all about Netflix, you'll be hugely impressed by what this battery has to deliver. Okay, so yeah, other specs. Stereo speakers, one at the bottom, the other one should be at the top here, this one here. And from what I know, we don't have a proper earpiece, so we may have some sort of vibration system through the screen. There's no audio jack, and the fingerprint scanner is embedded in the screen, and it's of the optical variety, so more reliable than the ultrasonic ones. You can see here in the cutout a special Face ID face unlock sensor, which I actually activated, and I'm using it right now. Much more secure than the average selfie camera unlock. We also have a gyroscope, proximity sensor, compass, color spectrum sensor. On the connectivity front, this device provides 5G, Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 5.3, GPS dual band, GLONASS, NFC, and there is an infrared emitter here at the top side to control your TV set and more. At the bottom there's an USB-C 3.1 port with DisplayPort 1.2 support, and now we can finally discuss the cameras. At the front in this pill rests a 50 megapixel camera with autofocus, with a wide lens, f2.0 aperture, and a Time-of-Flight 3D sensor next to it for selfie and face unlock. It shoots 4K video in 30 frames per second. At the back side, the star of the show is this periscope camera. It's a 180 megapixel, yes, telephoto camera with such a huge resolution, never seen before. I haven't seen one go past 64 megapixels till now, and now it's 180. f2.6 aperture, PDAF optical image stabilization, and just 2.5x optical zoom. However, there's a lossless quality at 5x for sure, probably combining pixels from that huge resolution. We have the dual tone flash here, we have an extra color sensor here, and these two sensors are both 50 megapixels in size. One is the main camera with optical image stabilization and variable aperture between f1.4 and f2.0, stabilization, laser focus, which is probably this one here, and PDAF. The other one is a 50 megapixel ultra wide camera with autofocus for your macro needs and a very generous 122-degree angle. This camera shoots 4K in 60 frames per second, staying true to the promise of some Chinese companies not to offer 8K video because, yeah, we don't need it apparently. We also have the availability of 10-bit video and HDR video for the handset here, plus the usual extras which come from Honor. I'm talking about the colorization with log and LUT profiles, as you can see here. And colorization can also be applied after you're done with the video on your PC or Mac. Options for the camera include light painting, super macro, scanning documents, panorama, watermark, high resolution, slow-mo, time-lapse, multi-video, and story. The thing I liked about multi-video is that you can swap between cameras. You can take videos simultaneously with the front and back camera, back and back camera, zoom and ultra-wide and main, and so forth. This is the pro area where you can tweak the white balance, exposure, focus, shutter, aperture, ISO, and more, and take JPEG, L, and RAW capture. Once again, this is the movie mode with some extras here: horizontal leveler, HDR video, and more. This is the actual video section. There's a very interesting way of zooming in and swapping between zoom levels. Frame rate can be set here, leveler again, and things like that. Okay, this is the photo area with an interesting feature which reminds me of Xiaomi and Huawei: natural, vibrant, or authentic color profile. Well, even the iPhone has color profile, so not exactly new, plus an AI which is quite snappy. But a more important feature is this one here: motion sensing capture. It's all about the sports. It can auto detect activities, 10 sports activities. It has been trained with 8 million images. You can recognize fencing, basketball, soccer, and so much more. So yeah, that's one of the selling points of the phone. This is the portrait area, once again with these options here and a few extra options related to beauty, and of course bokeh with its level of blur. Focusing a bit on the telephoto camera with this portrait. Night mode as well, and aperture, which takes advantage of the whole aperture thing with extra steps, not just the variable one I mentioned before. Okay, so that's about it as far as the camera is concerned. Now the software we're running on here, it's MagicOS 8.0, and it has behind it Android, obviously Android 14, as you can see here. Now, there have been some changes from the previous generations. Of course, we still have some regular stuff like this newsfeed here, like the sidebar, used to trigger those apps which will stay floating on the screen. It can be resized and moved. And even you can have pair of apps available for your multitasking needs. Recents is also a thing. Drop down with the control center here and quick settings from the right side and notifications from the left side. Of course, you can also have those cards which are more beautiful looking than your average widgets, but you also have your average widgets. And the settings will include a special magic ring will let you connect to other Honor devices. It's supposed to be an evolution of Honor Connect. Aside from that, these are the connectivity options, home screen and style. Always on display and magazine unlock are still a thing. Some beautiful standby display clocks. Sound and vibration features, biometrics and password, digital well-being. The assistant, which we have here. And well, yes, some pre-installed apps, but not many of them. And I don't see any sort of bloatware. Just basic things. So at its core, the phone remains elegant, ultra resilient, has the largest resolution periscope camera on the market, goes up to 100x with digital zoom, and seems somehow focused on sports photos. This one here, motion sensing capture. Seeing how it's a year with at least 2 main sporting events, it kind of makes sense for it to exist. Now it depends if you're into sports or not. Well, hundreds of millions of people are, so there's a market for this flagship. I'm going to test it. Honestly speaking, I already have. And we have here some fancy looking artistic photos in black and white, because ruins require black and white for some reason, but also a bunch of more colorful ones like these Valentine's Day shots of bears, of a hall where people got married for a day. It's the typical time of the year where the Valentine's shots are everywhere, and the colors are quite nice. Also one of the widest ultra-wide cameras I've handled in recent history. And very close macros. Okay, so that's about it. Those are the first impressions. The comfiest phone to use with such a large diagonal and a pretty impressive periscope camera. We'll be back with more soon in the review. Goodbye.